Disneyland. Disneyland for me, and probably for you, is a lifetime of memories. You walk through those gates, and the world just becomes brighter. It's that feeling of absolute, perfect escapism. Some of my favorite spots are, of course, the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, classic, iconic rides that are absolutely packed with history. But behind the smiles, behind the meticulously placed planters and the expensive souvenirs, Disneyland is also a colossal, sprawling historical site. And the deeper you dig into its past, the darker it gets. Over the years, countless stories have surfaced. Not just the silly legends, but credible, terrifying accounts of the park being genuinely, actively haunted. And the interesting part is, these stories aren't coming from wide-eyed tourists, they're coming from the Disneyland cast members themselves. The people who scrub the floors, patrol the backstage corridors, and reset the ride systems at 4 a.m. They've seen the park when it's completely empty, completely silent, and completely under the control of whatever entities refuse to leave. Tonight, we're going into the stories they swear are real. The backstage hallways underneath the Haunted Mansion are long, winding, and ridiculously easy to get lost in. But if you follow them the right way, they eventually lead you out near a small cast member cafeteria. One day, I was walking through those halls, trying to remember which turn led to the exit for my lunch break. As I passed one of the custodial closets, I saw a woman standing inside, another custodial cast member. I recognized her. We'd only spoken a couple of times, but I knew her face. I smiled at her as I walked by, and she smiled back. Nothing felt strange about it at all. But here's the thing. She had already died. She passed away before that day, before that moment in the hallway. I didn't know it at the time, but when her death was announced later, the dates were clear. She was gone. There was absolutely no way she could have been standing in that closet when I saw her. I was working an early morning shift on Main Street. It was just after the park had opened, and I was sweeping near the Walt and Mickey statue. Out of nowhere, I heard an older gentleman say, "Excuse me, miss," from directly behind me. I turned around with a big smile, ready to help him with directions. That's what most guests stop us for. But when I had turned around, nobody was there. I looked around for anyone who might have said it, even someone a little farther away. Voices can carry in the morning, but there wasn't a single person near me. Not one guest who even remotely fit the voice of an older man. I checked the entire area, full circle, and it was completely empty. Back in September of 1985, when Disney California Adventure was still just a parking lot, a 7-year-old girl named Jennifer Reed from Torrance was run over by a bus. People say her spirit still haunts the areas around what is now Disney California adventure. My personal experience happened years later when I was closing up Flick's Fun Fair at night, the area that's now part of Avengers Campus. The park had been cleared. Security had already given us the thumbs up that the bathrooms were empty, and my partner and I were walking out toward the main walkway to finish our closing tasks. I was done with my checklist and waiting for my partner to grab the lost and found items so we could take them downstairs before heading out. As we were walking past the bathrooms, we suddenly heard stall doors opening and slamming shut violently. Not just one door, but multiple, one after another. It was unmistakable. I looked at my partner, who was just as confused as I was, and walked to the entrance of the bathroom. Right as I looked inside, I saw a stall door slam open. I genuinely expected to see an angry guest inside, but there was no one. The door snapped shut, and another one immediately flew open. Then another. I couldn't even process it. I just backed away, searching for any sign of a person. There was nobody. My partner saw it too, and was staring at me over my shoulder, completely terrified. We took a few steps back and just ran for the office. We told our lead what happened, and she went up to check with another cast member. She called security back, and they searched the bathroom again, but they didn't find anyone. The only thing out of place was that the sinks were running on their own. I'm not positive what it was, but whatever was in there was not human. I used to work at the bell desk at the Disneyland Hotel. One night, I was delivering luggage to the back tower to help one of the bellmen who was getting really behind. As I walked past the pool area, I heard children laughing, clear as day. It was almost 11 p.m., so it struck me as strange the kids would still be swimming. I hadn't passed the tiki bar yet, so I waited to see if maybe the laughter was coming from the bar area. But when I got there, it was empty. No kids, no families, no one who could have been making those sounds. After dropping off the luggage, I walked back and checked the bar again just to be sure. Still nothing. As I passed the gate near the pool, I heard the laughing again. The same cheerful, playful sounds, but this time it was unmistakably coming from inside the pool area itself. I unlocked the gate and stepped inside. The entire pool deck was completely empty. The loungers, the chairs, even the towels. Everything looked exactly the way the lifeguards leave it at closing. Not a single ripple in the water, not a footprint, nothing disturbed. Eventually, I asked a security guard who'd been working there for over 15 years if he remembered any major incidents happening on the pool deck, anything that might explain what I heard. He said he couldn't think of a single one, but I know what I heard, and there were no children there. I want to preface this by saying that when I first started working at Disneyland, I didn't believe in ghosts. Not even a little. I worked in Critter Country stores back then, and about 2 weeks into the job, I had a closing shift that ended 15 minutes after everyone else. No one wanted to wait around for the new guy, so I had to walk out of the park alone. It was around 1:45 in the morning. I was walking on stage in front of Splash Mountain looking down at my phone When I glanced up the hill toward the ride entrance, that's when I saw her. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, wearing what looked like a First Communion dress. It wasn't glowing or anything. It just looked like a normal white dress. So I assumed she was a lost child. My heart dropped. I was still new and trying to remember the protocol for lost kids. I looked around to see if any other cast members were nearby, but the area was completely empty. I started walking toward her. She was closer to the entrance of the Davy Crockett canoes, and I was standing near Winnie the Pooh. I called out and asked if she needed help or if she was lost. She didn't respond. She didn't even turn around. Just stood there with her back to me. As I got closer, I looked around again, getting more annoyed at security for not clearing the area. We were maybe 20 yards apart when I glanced left, then right, desperately searching for anyone who could help. And when I looked forward again, she was suddenly running straight toward me. I hadn't heard a single footstep, not one. I could tell she was going to collide with me. I braced for impact, squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the hit. But nothing happened. When I opened my eyes, she was gone. Completely gone. I spun around trying to figure out where she'd gone, but the walkway was empty. At that point, I decided this was a security problem, not mine. I went home and tried not to think about it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to get in trouble for supposedly leaving a lost kid in the park. A week later, I had an opening shift with one of my leads who'd been with the resort for 20 years. I decided to test the waters and casually asked, "Have you ever seen anything weird at night?" She didn't hesitate. She just looked at me and said, "Did you see a girl in a white dress?" My blood went cold. I hadn't told a single person what happened, and she described it exactly. That's when she told me the story every longtime cast member in that area seems to know. They call her Mary. Back in the early 70s, Mary loved Tom Sawyer Island, the haunted mansion, and the stretch of the park that eventually became Critter Country. She had leukemia, and when she passed away, her parents scattered her ashes on Tom Sawyer Island. Years later, the parents told a haunted mansion cast member what they'd done, but by that time, so many cast members had already reported seeing a little girl in a white dress wandering the island or the surrounding paths at night. Apparently, I'd just joined the list. These are just a few of the stories hiding under Disneyland's perfect, polished surface. And whether you believe in ghosts or not, the people who work there every day swear these things happened. And honestly, if there were a place for spirits to stick around, it would probably be the happiest place on earth. If you want a part 2, because trust me, there are so many more, let me know. And if you've ever experienced something creepy at Disneyland yourself, tell me about it in the comments. I might just feature it in the next video.